Namaskar. On behalf of the library, the Asiatic Society, we have organized a colloquium on the role of library in higher education against a backdrop of pandemic-struck global scenario. At the outset, I should start with a prayer pronounced by our ancient Indian seers. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya. Let all be happy. Let all be free from disease. I am quoting it since this is an universal prayer sounded at every nook and corner of the world today. We are passing through a crisis of the severest magnitude, a crisis, a turbulent crisis which most of us could not even apprehend in the remotest of our dreams, in the wildest of our dreams. Half of the world has been compelled to stay under either isolation or quarantine. Economy is in shambles. Our daily life has been crippled. As a matter of fact, our very survival, our very life, our very existence has been thwarted by this pandemic COVID-19. Needless to say, education also has to bear the brunt of this pandemic. Higher education is in doldrums. Schools, colleges, universities, research institutions, all are closed. Examinations stalled. Students, our young stars, our future hopes have been confined within the four walls of their house. They are facing depression, they are facing disappointment, everything is in total disarray. But even under this trying situation, we could not sit idle. We, the seniors, have a moral responsibility towards our young stars, towards our young students. But how can we meet this responsibility? The answer is embedded in our system itself. Yes, we have our libraries, and the libraries can come to our rescue under the prevailing circumstance. How? The libraries can furnish free access to our students, to their books, journals, periodicals, even digitized manuscripts. The students can realize, students can get knowledge of many study materials, whatever they need in their academic pursuit, from library, through mail services, through telephone calls. In short, library can play a pivotal role in higher education, in promoting higher education, in bolstering higher education under the prevailing circumstance. Students need not visit libraries, but the library will go at the doorstep of each student, which has been visualized. This has been visualized long ago by one of our greatest cultural icons, Rabindranath, in his famous essay on library, Granthagara. So we are looking forward to library in this prevailing circumstance, in this new modern age, how to cope with the pandemic struck global scenario. And so with this objective in mind, we from Asiatic Society, which has been founded as early as 1784 by Sir William Jones, and which has always maintained since its inception the concept of library, which will cater to the need of students, researchers, intellectuals, and at the same time, the public will come forward in this situation to cater to the need of our researchers, our students, our teachers, our professors, in short, the entire milieu. So we have here in this colloquium two very erudite speakers who are quite well famed, well reputed in their respective domains. The first speaker is Dr. Pritam Gude, who happens to be the librarian of the Asiatic Society, Kolkata, who will speak on the Asiatic Society Library at the Crossroads, and he will discuss in details the services which can a library provide, and specifically the services to be provided by the Asiatic Society Library to its students, to its readers, to its researchers, to the teachers, in short, the entire public. And we have our second speaker also, equally erudite, Dr. Narayan Chandra Ghosh, who is librarian of Indian Institute of Management, Kolkata. He will be talking on shifting from normal to new normal, future of academic libraries. And I'm sure that we will be benefited, we will be enlightened from these two presentations, which I am sure will act as torch bearers in this trying situation. May I now request Dr. Pritam Gude, librarian, the Asiatic Society, Kolkata, to make his presentation. The title is The Asiatic Society Library at the Crossroads. Dr. Pritam Gude.
Namaskar. A very good afternoon to all. Hope everyone is well and coping up well in this pandemic situation. I am very much thankful to Asiatic Society for providing me the opportunity to speak on behalf of Asiatic Society Library and to share what the Library of the Asiatic Society has provided as a part of their service during the phase of lockdown and at the present phase. So my today's area of discussion is the Asiatic Society Library at the Crossroads. Asiatic Society Library is one of the oldest center for learning and research in the whole continent of Asia, which was founded by Sir William Jones on 15 January 1784, where Sir William Jones declared that the bound of investigations will be the geographic limit to Asia, and within these limits, its inquiries will be extended to whatever is performed by man or produced by nature. Asiatic Society during times has changed its name as it was Asiatic with K Society of Bengal during 1832 to 1935, the Royal Asiatic Society of Bengal during 1936 to 1951, and from July 1952, it was Asiatic Society, Kolkata. At present, the Asiatic Society is an institute of national importance. It has been declared by the Parliament in its bicentenary year, that is in 1984. At present, the Asiatic Society is an autonomous organization functioning under the Ministry of Culture, Government of India. The Asiatic Society activities depends upon the four areas, that is, to organize, initiate, or to promote research in humanities and science in the whole continent of Asia, to establish, build, construct, and run research institutions, reading room, museums, art gallery, and lecture halls, to organize lecture, seminars, symposium, which Asiatic Society does from time to time. And another one is the publication area, to acquire, finance, or to publish periodicals, books, or literature that the society may think fit for promotion of its object. Library. The library division comprises of the library section itself, the museum section, the conservation section, and the reprograph section. The reprography section and conservation section aids the library and museum to provide better services through year after year. The Asiatic Society Library, it has a history of its own. The library has a very unique and rich culture of its own. It has been from decades, that is from 1784, the library was started with the collection as gifts from eminent persons. The first gift was received from the 7 Persian manuscripts from Henry Richardson. It also has an illuminated manuscript of Quran and old texts of Gulistan, which are all has been received as gift. The first accession was done during 13 February 1808, which is a gift from the Palace Library of Tipu Sultan. In addition, we may say that Asiatic Society Library holds its collection of both historic and archival value. In 1808, the library was open to all, and since then, the library is providing services to the general public. The acquisition policy of the library depends on the library committee. The library committee decides what books to be purchased or what books can be received as gifts. In case of journals, the journals are subscribed journals. We have the subscription of journals. We have exchange of journals with other institutes, and we also receive journals from other institutes. All the books and journals are mostly in printed forms. The library collection, it has a unique I should say, a unique collection of books. The present collection of books is near about 133,543, and we have a bound volume of 109,438. We have a huge collection of microfiche which are presently been converted into its digital form, that is in PDF form. The subject area covers of this total collection is of anthropology, archaeology, Ayurveda, language, literature, and so on. It mostly covers the language, European language, Pali language, Prakrit language, the Sino-Tibetan language, and the South Asian language. The museum, another pivotal area for providing service to the users. The basic users of the library are the research scholars from abroad, our present research scholars, which we have in our society, the members of the society, and other illuminers or anyone who wants to use the library can use the museum also. The museum was first intended to established in 1796, but it came into existence under the leadership of Dr. N. Walwich in 1840. The first catalogue of museum was published in 1849. The society, when Indian Museum formed during 1866, this society provided most of its valuable collection to the Indian Museum. But still, the society have in its own possession the Ashokan rock edict of 250 BC, a collection, a good number of collection of copper plates, coins, sculptures, and manuscripts. These are the collections of the museum, as we have a very enriched collection of varied languages and varied scripts of manuscript. We have near about 49,616 manuscripts, a rare book of 1,424, some Chinese book is there. We have a good collection of oil paintings, coins, lithographs, maps, busts, photographs with engraving, and others. These are some pictorial description I would like to share with you, that these are the snapshots of manuscripts which we have. The manuscript collection can be divided into four categories: the ancient language categories, that is Prakrit and Sanskrit; the modern language categories, that is Bengali, Assamese, Oriya, Marathi, Punjabi, Kannada; the other Asian language like Arabic, Persian, Urdu. As I have already mentioned, that the gift from different persons, eminent persons, which we received in our foundation is basically of Arabic, Persian, and Urdu. Here I would like to mention that when the Fort William College is been abolished, the huge collection of the Fort William College, mostly of Arabic, Persian, and Urdu, was gifted to Asiatic Society, which we have in our possession. The Western language is of English, French, German, etc. Here is an interesting slide where you can see that we have the Pathshanama, where the Shah Jahan, the autograph of Shah Jahan is embedded, and you can see that we have Aini Akbari, the color, the beautification of engraving done, and the vegetables color used in Tarjumai Mahabharat speaks of itself. We have a huge and rich collection of these types of manuscripts. The Asiatic Society Library has a good collection of rare books and journals. The rare books has been divided or arranged according to century wise, the 16th century, 17th century, 18th century, and so on. The oldest book which we have in our collection is Julie Formica Astronomicorum Libri Octa Integeri. It was published in 1499. It is written in ancient Greek and it deals with the old astronomy. In the 16th century, the important are like as Aristotle of 1585. There are some rare journals. I've given some examples like Asiatic Researches of 1788, the Philosophical Transactions of Royal Society of London of 1665. The services. Asiatic Society provides lending service to its users, that is, to the members, to the research scholars and research assistants associated with Asiatic Society, and the staff members of the society. The reading room service is open to all, that is, to general public. Anybody who wants to use the library with proper photo identification and with proper purpose, they can come to the Asiatic Society Library and they can hold of their document, they can read, and they can use our reprographic services to take the portion as per allowance with them. The manuscript browsing section in the museum, anybody who is doing research on a particular manuscripts which we have in our possession, they can use and they can do the deciphering work of manuscript. The document delivery service. We get numerous emails and calls from abroad as well as from nations related to documents which we provide through mail or through postage. The bibliographical service, the reference service is also there. We provide interlibrary loan among certain institutions. The current awareness service is also in existence. arrangement, we generally use exhibitions of our rare books, rare journals, the photographs, coins, etc. from time to time. The preservation and conservation services, the older the manuscript becomes or the book becomes, it needs to be protected from dust, from insects, and that has been done in our own preservation and conservation section. We often attend a group of visitors or individual, and we give them a visit, a tour of our library as well as museum. The library automation. The library automation software we are using presently is the Liechtenstein software. The circulation is totally automated. The catalog is totally automated. Web OPAC, as you can see, the URL of the Web OPAC has been provided. Anybody from anywhere can access our OPAC service. The OPAC is also compatible with the mobile version, and anyone can see our OPAC, the catalog, and they can, through mail, they can provide their requisition or anything they want from a particular document through our document delivery service. We can provide them all. These are some examples of screenshots I have tried to find out something with Bose, and these are the results. The result is in Mark 21 format. Similarly, this is in case of bound journals. The bound journals are also in our OPAC. The new additions what we add is occasionally updated, and mostly you can find out, we can get hold of our OPAC, and you can have a look into our OPAC, and through this OPAC we can provide our services. The digitization activities. At present, we have 205,000 titles of books already been digitized with proper metadata. More than 1,000 manuscripts has been digitized. As I have told you earlier, the microfiche has also been digitized. Some artifacts and photographs have been digitized. At present, we have taken initiative to digitize the whole lot of rare documents with us and make it available to the public. At present, the digital archive of Asiatic Society is in its local server. The digital archive is hosted in the platform of DSpace, and presently in DSpace, the communities are publications of the Asiatic Society, that is whatever is produced from Asiatic Society, the old one until present, the manuscripts of the Asiatic Society, and other than book collection, that is paintings, etc., would be headed under this community. I show you an example of manuscript. This is a manuscript. It would look like this, and when it comes, we have done in the format of Dublin Core. Metadata has been incorporated for it. The 15 elements of the Dublin Core metadata has been used, and in this case, this is an example of manuscript. The scanning of the manuscript is done under 600 dpi. We have tried to keep the whole lot of resolution. No case of fabrication has been done, so that if any researchers want to look into the digitized form, or even if they want to get printout of it, they hold of everything, whatever intact is it is in our manuscript. We have done the books that is published by Asiatic Society. Bibliotheca Indica has also been done, and in this case also Dublin Core metadata has been incorporated. We in near future would like to add like the paintings in our collection, which would be photographed, as it can the size of the paintings are used, it would be photographed and it would be put in this DSpace server. And we want to incorporate all our artifacts and everything into our DSpace, so that when it is completed, we can provide the access to the public. The journals, we have near about 84 titles which we subscribe. Mostly they are foreign, and apart from these 84, there are some Indian journals. This list has been also updated and it's available in our website. These are the services which we have provided during pandemic. The remote access, I would like to share that all the books and journals are in printed form. We don't have e-resources, but we try to contact our publishers, those who are providing these journals, and out of 84 titles, the printed titles, we have managed to provide 53 titles to our users. And these are the segregation, as you can see, that from Sage 42 titles, of Cambridge 5 titles, and of Taylor and Francis 6 titles. These are still available in remote access, and anybody of our users can access them from their home. The trial access is also been started, that Cambridge has provided us 705 titles of their online text, and Sage eBooks has provided near about 4140 titles, which has been used by our research scholars, the members, and the hit count is outstanding. We have organized a virtual examination, that is the Treasures of Asiatic Societies Museum, which this museum has been organized and it is still available in our website. The other services that we have observed the International Museum Day in 18th May 2020 through virtual talks among the academicians and museum professionals. We have provided numerous reference surveys during this period through email, WhatsApp, and telephonic conversation. We have taken up some initiatives in the forthcoming months to go. We will try to get hold of trial access of Oxford eBooks, the Degrooitas, and other publishers. We are going to organize two virtual exhibitions. One is of Acharya Prafulla Chandra Roy and his relationship with the Asiatic Society, which is going to be organized by the library section, and a brief sketch of society as revealed through 18th century lithographs to be organized by museum section. Another important day in the forthcoming month would be organized, that is 22 Shravan, Rabindranath Tagore Death Anniversary. It would be a tribute to Rabindranath Tagore and Patrick Gates on environment, the confusion of mind. The speaker of them is Professor Tapati Mukherjee, the Library Secretary of Asiatic Society, and Sri Arunendu Bandyopadhyay, and noted. At present, the Asiatic Society is open for administrative works, and the safety measures taken in general. Disinfectant treatment of the entire Asiatic Society building has been done before opening, including its library and museum. We have ensured that there is proper access to soap, water, sanitizer, and other disinfectant materials. We try to keep our surfaces clean, including the library text, computers, furniture at frequent interval. And when a book has been returned from a user, we keep it in a quarantine for 2 days before placing it into the stack. The measures taken for the staffs, that 50% duty roster to attend the office has been made, and another 50% can work from home in order to keep the social distancing practice and as per the government directives. We also ensure that the staffs are encouraged to take time to recover if they feel ill or any type of anxiety rather than coming into work. We also ensure that the staff have the skills and tools and adequate tools to work remotely as far as possible so that they can provide their services digitally. Our future programs is simple and clear. We are going to digitize the manuscripts, books, and other items. I have already mentioned those items. We are going to provide the digital archive in our website. It is in local server mode. We are going to provide the access so that the users from abroad and from nation can access them. We are planning to procure some ebooks and e-journals with remote access facility so that our users, the research scholar, or the members can access them from wherever they want. We are also trying to keep some relevant information, online open access e-resources with links in our library web page. We are going to prepare the virtual tour of library and museum so that anyone can access it from our website, online users guides, as well as we are going to make some arrangement that the borrower return books at the counter can be dropped in a box, and some sort of RFID technology can be used. Now I conclude my presentation over here. I would like to thank you all once again. I am very much thankful to the General Secretary of Asiatic Society, the Library Secretary of the Asiatic Society, and all the staff members for providing me this opportunity so that I can give this presentation better. Thank you. Thank you all.
Dr. Gure, for your extremely lucid and informative presentation. May I now request Dr. Narayan Chandra Ghosh, librarian, Indian Institute of Management, Kolkata, to enlighten us with his presentation. Dr. Narayan Chandra Ghosh.
I thank to Professor Tapati Mukherjee, the Library Secretary, the Asiatic Society, Kolkata. I also convey my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Pritam Gure, librarian, the Asiatic Society, Kolkata, for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to share my views in this critical time, how the library will deliver the services to its users in this pandemic situation. So as you know, myself is engaged in an academic institution of higher learning, one of the CFTIs, Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta, as librarian. So we are now facing a lot of difficulties to provide the services to our users. Nobody is sure when we'll go back to the normal situation as it was earlier. But nothing can be stopped. Life will continue. Even in adverse situation, we have to cope up. The difficulties, and we have to leverage the crisis in innovative services. So what I believe that one fine morning we'll find that everything will become normal. But this COVID-19 pandemic had given us a lot of lessons. And in future, we have to take care of many things, but previously we never thought of. Friends, all of you are aware that due to this unprecedented pandemic situation, we all are passing through very critical times. This has impacted the life of the entire human race worldwide, not only in our country, not only in our state, not only in our neighborhood. As we know that world is now a global village, really it has proved the pandemic situation, the COVID-19 outbreak, has proved once again that the whole world is in global village. And we all are affected. When in the province Wuhan in China, the first outbreak of coronavirus reported, but within a very short span of time that has been spreaded in the entire world. all the countries are affected, and we too. The situation is pretty bad in our country too, and sometimes it feels like everything is at standstill due to this prolonged period of lockdown. I can remember on 25th of March, our Honorable Prime Minister, he announced the countrywide lockdown. And as you know that in our country, officially announced on 25th, but in our state on 23rd, since 5 o'clock in the afternoon, they announced that all the traffic will be halted and everything will be closed. No transportation will be available. So we were panicked, and immediately we decided that for the safety of the users and the staff members in the library, we decided that we will close down our library, and immediately we decided to do so. So not only our institute, our library, so in our country, all the academic institutions from kindergarten to the Institute of Higher Learning, all are closed. So the libraries attached to it, and the physical libraries are beyond access to their users. Academic libraries are now serving to the users remotely, as the entire education system has been shifted to virtual environment. Even in my institute, they are offering 2 courses right now, and classes are going on virtual learning system. And again, a few more courses will be started very soon in the month of August, and on the virtual platform only. So what about libraries? So we have also started our services through remote access, off-campus services, so that all the students, all the faculty members can get access to the library resources from their respective places. So on the afternoon on 23rd March, we closed our libraries for about a week. Really, we had no specific idea about the situation, what is going to happen. But we never expected that the pandemic would continue for so long. Almost 4 months passed away. And we are pretty unsure whether we'll again come back to our normal life immediately or not. The situation compelled us to move to online services only, and the entire campus has gone out of bounds. But very suddenly, a system from a physical library will not be able to provide all the services online, off campus, remotely. So what happens in our place? Over the years, we have been gradually shifting from print subscription to digital content. That has happened gradually over the years, almost beginning of the 21st century. Pretty old institute, and the library collection is hybrid in nature. We are having a lot of printed documents, almost more than 2.5 lakhs printed documents we have been holding in our library. So along with that, we started shifting gradually from printed mode to electronic mode, mostly in case of databases, journals, and some cases books too. We already established robust search interface, discovery service, single window search solutions to the users. We are having interactive library portal, though it's pretty old, and we were planning to revamp our portal, but somehow we couldn't do that due to this critical situation. But very soon we will revamp our portal more interactive, more user-friendly. But whatever we are having presently, that is good enough to shift from online services, shift to online services to provide the facilities to our users. Off-campus access to the library resources. We already had that environment established using third-party software. So it's not a big deal to us. Users are getting access to our library resources from their respective places. So that's a good thing. We had previously implemented that. And moreover, the web presence in all those things, that is web portal, the search interface, that is discovery service, more or like all the databases and journals are available online, and the remote access facilities served us well during this sudden transition. But now, what I think and what I understand, that even after the pandemic is over, gradually we are coming back to our normal life. In fact, the campus is reopening, but still we have to follow certain practices and we have to carry forward that. But I think that after reopening the campus, the libraries will shift from normal to new normal. Because our age-old practices will be changed, and we are forced to do that. But I believe that the new normal may guide us in a different direction. In-person visit to the physical libraries may be restricted, because at a time we cannot allow anybody or everybody, whoever trying to enter the campus. The students may be restricted, the faculty may be restricted to visit the library, at a time altogether. What we didn't have earlier. We never bothered who is coming, because we always, talk about the footfalls in library. These are gradually decreasing. So we wanted to have the more number of footfalls in our libraries. But now we have to think in a different way. We have to restrict that. The holdings in printed form in our library, even any libraries, no longer be preferred for the readers, because they will get that sort of panic, that sort of, they will be scared. Rather, those printed documents also carrying the viruses, so they may get affected if they have more access to the printed documents. So even if I think that for the comfort reading, ease of handling, if the demand remains same for the printed documents, then of course we have to have certain new practices to implement, adopt, like the reading spaces. We need more reading spaces, because the social distancing or the physical distancing, whatever the way we define it, we need to maintain that in our libraries. We cannot allow our students or faculty members to sit together as it was earlier. So the number of chairs will be less. That will be distributed in a wide area, or with a sufficient gap from one reader to another reader for maintaining that distance. Group discussion, like our institute, it was a wonderful area of study for the students. So in that case also, we cannot encourage them for this sort of group discussion with a large amount of students. So they need to maintain the social distance, and we have to rethink that more number of group discussion area, we have to identify and provide to our students. More innovative services and online collection development is the only option to leverage this crisis. What I think that gradually we have to move towards the online or digital collection rather than print. Some innovative services we have to nurture and develop so that the interaction, physical interaction or in-person interaction rather should be avoided in the library. And the current trends and what I think that the future ahead of us will drastically change the collection development. And it should be. The spaces, as I said, that we need more space for maintaining that social distances among the readers. And services also, we have to move more to virtual environment rather than the circulation service where the persons are, providing services to the users for different purposes like issue, return, reissue, reservation, renewal, and whatnot. Even in the reference services desk maybe transform to virtual reference service. So these sort of changes in functioning and services in academic libraries, I believe we have to adapt. So as I was saying that this normal to new normal, it's basically, I think it's a paradigm shift once again in library, because over the time, gradually we have been increasing our collection in electronic mode only. But this pandemic situation will force, once again, to reduce the subscription or the procurement of printed collection. Sometimes, we are thinking, and some of the aggregator service providers or the vendors, they are offering us, huge discounts for the e-versions of the printed books available in our library. They are offering a good deal, because what they think that if the printed version of the same book we have been holding in our library, they will provide us the e-copies, or the e-version will be available of the same book what we are holding in the library with a huge discount, with an aim that the user can get access to those e-versions of books, the same books, rather than the printed one available in library, and the library can provide the services to its user in a better way. If we think that all old libraries, like us, who are holding a huge amount of the printed volumes of old journals in their archive, almost all the academic institute libraries, they are having that in their collection. So now we have to rethink, and we have to go for the archival collection in electronic mode only, to avoid using those printed bound volumes of those journals. Because of this critical times, critical situations, and the physical libraries, even after opening, we will hardly get chance to get access to those libraries, those documents, as we used to do previously. So we may think in our collection development to go for one-time subscription initiative for the digital archive of the printed journals. That may become a new normal to us. Even sometimes we feel that at least in libraries, some of the journals or trade literature should be available in printed form, so that the readers could get some printing materials after entering the library. So that idea we had, and we believe it even the librarians and the users too, they prefer to have those trade journals or the magazines or very important few journals to be there in printed form. But gradually, if available, we have to move to the e-journal subscription of those trade journals too, rather than we have to stop subscribing print issues. Sometimes we have a good collection of, maybe in some libraries, very rare documents, some gray literature, some cases in some libraries, some important manuscripts. Those will be out of bound because of its format, and simultaneously we have to initiate the digitization effort, and those printed collection to make it more accessible, and users should not be deprived. Now, the another approach what we already adopted and worldwide accepted, that is the consortium approach of subscription, and that we have to again depend on that, the collaborative approach in negotiation with the publisher, so that during this period all the libraries may face the budget cut, and with the shrinking budget, if they want to continue the resources whatever they are having presently in their libraries, so they need to negotiate further with the publisher, so that collaborative approach can help it in a better way. In case of services also, but I foresee that we have to, we have to make changes, because almost a good number of libraries, they are already having their mobile device, that is library app. We are under development for one library app, so that in a handheld device, user can get access to the library through this app, and through remote access, of course. And almost all the academic institute libraries, they have already shifted their printed catalogs to online catalogs. So it's now a must for all the academic libraries, so that their holdings will be available through OPAC. As far as possible, the automated, or self-maintained issue return kiosk should be installed, so that without any in-person interaction or interaction with the library staff, a user can check in, check out, and otherwise the online renewal facilities should be available. They can make the reservations of any required documents they are looking for from library. So those kind of facilities should be ensured. Wherever it's not available, they should implement that, and we have to move towards that only. Sometimes it may so happen that other than photocopying thing, the library staff may scan and delivery the printed documents to the users to ensure touchless interactions. So, and what I was talking, that is library website, library web portal, that should be more interactive, user friendly, and customizable, so that any new information, any new services that could be interlinked immediately and customized according to the need of the library, without much technical help or interaction. Or the robust federated search solutions, search services, as I told, that a single window search solutions is mandatory, because if you think the academic libraries, they are having different sorts of source of informations in one place in library, that is books, e-books, journals, different databases, and my institutional repositories and some other content management system will be there, and open access resources. So lot of different sources are available, lot of different documents are available. So for searching the right information, robust discovery service is required for any academic institutions library, and that should be ensured. Another is remote access facility is a must now, and that should be provided by the library either through virtual private network or maybe by Cebolov Technologies, Open Athens, or any third-party service providers like EJProxy, IRS, or remote access like services. But the remote access facilities, to all the users should be provided, and that should become the new normal. Some cases, in this pandemic situation, when all the faculty members, they are also continuing their lectures, they are taking classes, they are taking, giving the assignments, they are taking the exam on the learning management, through learning management softwares on different proctoring environment only. And so in that case, librarians can help them, and join hands with them to develop, identify, and linking of course content. And this is another issue which is really need of the hour, that since almost beginning of this 21st century, librarians have been advocating, to develop alternative pathways for research dissemination. And almost all the academic libraries, they already established institutional repositories with the help of, again, open source softwares like DSpace, ePrints, like softwares. And but in our country, if you are honest to say that how far we are successful in giving the open access in real sense to the content we have been uploading in the institutional repositories, most of the cases you will find that these are all restricted as usual with an embargo of maybe 1 year, or maybe it's completely locked, as because there is the question of copyright violation, as we have been uploading there the postprint articles only. So this is a chance, good time, where we can again, start advocating, freshly to our authors, to the content creators, and convince them why they should upload a copy, a preprint must in the institutional repository, so that their research work could be well used, could be shared by the peers. Again, the another issue, that is open access publishing. This is the right time to advocate among the authors for free access to the research and the research data. We are trying since long, but we are not that successful. And if you have a look, that only a minimum of our research contribution, research publication, or research output are really available in open access. So that is the another issue is open educational resources, that is OER. These resources are available in text, audio, video, so under Common Creative License, and it's available in the web, so the librarian can get themselves involved in it, and they can give that direction to the faculty, sometimes the students, for those OERs, open educational resources, how to make use of that, and that could be linked with the library too. And the outreach programs and the webinars, this is the only option in the new normal, the days to come, then to avoid the in-person interaction, So that constantly we will organize, the library will organize different webinars on different resources and train the students and sometimes aware the faculty too how to make use of those resources comfortably and easily. And another service which is also very important in today, even the future, to inform, to make the users aware about the open access resources. Some of them we can name here, and the librarian should take initiative to to take it forward to the users so that they can get access to those open access resources easily and make use of that very effectively. Say, for example, National Digital Library of India, Directory of Open Access Journals, Directory of Open Access Books, National Program on Technology Enhanced Learning, South Ganga, then EPG Pathshala, World Bank Open Knowledge Repository, International Monetary Fund, eLibrary, Legal Information Institute of India, Open Online Library and Publication Platform, PubMed Central, Project Gutenberg, Internet Archives, and many more. In today's situation or in future, this kind of authentic open access resources should be reached to the users in all level, maybe faculty, maybe educator, maybe the students, maybe the researchers, so that and the librarians can do that work very effectively, very efficiently. And I believe in coming future, that will become another new normal to all of us. Again, as I was saying that spaces in new normal, we have to reduce the number of chairs for maintaining the physical distance among the readers in the library, so that no way the virus could get that scope to spread, and group study may be avoided, or the number of participants may be less, and they should form the group, maintaining that distance, considerable distance. The carol study area, that is the study carols, need for study carols may increased, and we are planning, we have a good number of study carols where the readers get their privacy, their individual study space. We have almost 64 that sort of study carols, but we want a few more. We want few more to add. Then the study spaces may be needed in the library to accommodate the demands, like not the footfalls will increase over the night, but the number of users, to accommodate them, we need more space, more reading space to be provided, keeping in view this pandemic. Again, we have to care for the safety measures, and which will become the new normal in future. That is flexi timing we should offer to our staff members because of this situation. Duty roster, we should prepare, keeping in mind the safety of the staff, rearranging the seating arrangement of the library personnel so that in a very small room or small space, more staff should not be accommodated, and they should rearrange their sitting arrangement so that they can maintain sufficient distance. Almost each and every day we should try to disinfect the spaces in the library, from reading area to the sitting area of the staff members and other service areas, should be disinfected regularly. Thermal scanning, which is a new normal today, just before entering to the campus or maybe entering to the library, all the staff members, including librarian, they should use thermal scanning. Of course, the sanitizers, liquid soaps, napkins, gloves, etc. It will become a part of life. And health monitoring, another issue that is in any point of time, if you feel that we are not well, immediately we should leave our workplace and keep the social distance, and we'll take care of our health. And another important issue, that is the circulating documents, which is we have to be very careful about that, and we will keep all those circulating documents under quarantine at least for a few days, so that there will be no chance of spreading of the viruses. And I think in the future, the academic libraries has to adopt many more new things, which I may not foresee right now. Only situation will tell us what new things will going to be included in the new normal. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ghosh, for your extremely thought-provoking presentation. We have listened to two speakers who have dealt with the problem of the present scenario, and at the same time, libraries, the services can be offered by libraries to meet up the problems of, to meet up the requirements of students, researchers, and teachers in the present scenario. Dr. Ghosh, I will come to him later. Dr. Bude, in his presentation, has outlined a brief history of Asiatic Society, and at the same time, he has enlightened us through his speech about the services which Asiatic Society Library is now offering to the readers under the present pandemic struck situation. We are indeed benefited by his presentation. And secondly, our second speaker, Dr. Ghosh, is equally informative when he enlightened us about the paradigm shift of libraries and how we have to cope up with the new situation. What will happen when the libraries will open, when the education scenario will again brighten up after this pandemic is over? We are looking forward to those days of rays of hope, of new rays of hope. And at this moment, we are indeed energized, we are indeed encouraged when we can perceive of the future days which will usher in a new revival of library services, a new era of library services which we can offer to our readers. We are indeed indebted to both our speakers for enlightening us through their presentations. I take this opportunity to convey my sincerest thanks as Library Secretary of the Asiatic Society to the council members, to our General Secretary, to our President, to library staff, and all others connected with Asiatic Society for making this colloquium possible, without whose assistance, patronage, and help this colloquium would never have seen the light of the day. And I take this, once again, I take this opportunity to hope for all our well-wishers a bright future days when this dread of pandemic will not haunt us anymore. Thank you.